Today we're looking at something that's becoming impossible to ignore across Asia Pacific. Tobacco harm reduction is losing political ground in some key countries. We're going to use two very clear case studies to unpack why that is: Malaysia and the Philippines. Now, to be clear right up front, this shift isn't happening because the risk continuum suddenly stopped being true. This is about politics. It's about youth use, enforcement gaps, and public optics overpowering nuance. And if we want to stop the tide of restrictions from becoming the default setting for tobacco harm reduction, we have to understand the pattern that is driving this, and then offer governments a credible alternative to banning. Let's start with Malaysia. Malaysia has a federal framework that regulates vapes and other non-combustibles as what they call smoking products. So, on paper, this isn't prohibition, it's regulation.
It's no longer if we ban, but when we will ban. The way forward is to actually ban vape.
But here's the reality. Malaysia is trending towards what you could call ban by steps. Federal leaders have openly discussed banning open system products first, and at the same time, several states have moved to restrict or even ban retail vape sales altogether. Now, let's move to the Philippines. The Philippines actually has what many people would describe as a structured regulatory approach. There's a dedicated law covering vapes and heated tobacco products. It sets rules for sales, marketing compliance, and enforcement powers. But politically, the center of gravity is shifting. The Department of Health has publicly called for a total vape ban.
The Philippine Health Department is floating a total ban on vaping in the country, citing the increased use among minors.
And enforcement has leaned heavily on seizures and tax stamp compliance.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue files a 711 million peso tax complaint against large-scale illicit vape businesses,
creating a posture that feels less like regulation and more like a crackdown. So the question is this: why are we seeing this pattern across two countries with very different systems? Here is what's driving it. First, we have institutional conflict. In many governments, one part regulates these products as a consumer category, while health actors from them frame them as an unacceptable risk.
Unfortunately, ang findings ngayon, yung mga oils or chemicals that they put in to put flavor, para maganda amoy niya, para maganda lasa niya, ay nag-harm sa lungs.
This internal split creates instability. And when there's conflict inside the government, prohibition becomes the simplest position to defend in public.
Government will implement a ban on the sale of electronic cigarettes or vapes.
Secondly, illicit market and weak compliance. If policymakers believe most of the market is untaxed, non-compliant, or functionally uncontrollable, they stop trusting regulation. And when that happens, they start treating the entire category as an enforcement problem instead of a risk management strategy.
Filipino authorities sounding the alarm over what they call a silent pandemic of e-cigarette and vape use among Filipino youth.
Third, youth panic dominates the narrative. Once youth use becomes visible, the public debate changes overnight. Adult harm reduction gets crowded out, and suddenly the conversation is no longer how do we reduce smoking-related disease. It then becomes how do we stop this from spreading to the kids? So here is the shared pattern across Malaysia and the Philippines. Enforcement looks weak. Policymakers lose confidence. The debate shifts from risk management to moral panic, and restriction becomes the path of least resistance. And this is the real lesson. If you want to stem the tide, you cannot just argue the science. You have to rebuild political confidence that regulated adult access can be controlled better than a ban. That means that regulation has to look credible and operate credibly. It has to be something politicians can defend publicly without feeling like they're taking a risk.
I'm 41 years old. I smoked for 23 years.
I smoked for 9 years.
I smoked for 3 years.
And here's the part that the THR community cannot avoid. Adults need to speak up.
Vaping saved my life.
Happy to say I'm an ex-smoker for 12 years.
Did vaping save my life? It most definitely did.
Real people, real stories, adults who stopped smoking, who improved their health, who got their lives back. Because when adult voices disappear, the vacuum then gets filled by panic, enforcement headlines, and worst-case framing. Because in the end, THR doesn't win on science alone. It wins when regulation is politically safer than a ban.